See? Namaste everyone. Very warm welcome to Satsang today. Sadhguru Shri Muji Baba ki Jai. It's time for daily self-hunting. Shall we go hunting for the self? If you have sacrificed your favorite notions about yourself, if you have given up on them, if right now you are not picking up the idea that you want something, or the idea that you haven't got something, or there is something somewhere to go, that there is something missing, no matter what the circumstantial evidence might be, no matter what the feeling might be, what the thought might be, without the notion, what is your insight about yourself? What are you right now? Where are you right now? What is your location? What is your boundary? Is your boundary in this world, or in some other world, or beyond all worlds? Are you somewhere sitting within this body, one tiny organism is sitting inside the body, waiting for some freedom to come? All these are just ideas we've had about ourselves. Without your story, what are you? If you need an inference, if you need a thought, if you need a judgment to describe who you are, that you is not the true one. Even the conclusion, if it is just mental, that I am awareness, or I am consciousness, I am the self. If it is just a conclusion, then that is taking one extra step. You see? Because many times if I say that is not enough, it might seem like there is something further to go. Actually, you have gone too far. If you have concluded something, you have gone too far. Just this much, if you understand, it will be very good satsang. You make a conclusion, when you make a judgment, when you make an inference, you have gone too far. What were you prior to that? What are you prior to the stirring of some intention? Even the intention to find yourself. All conclusions are just steps towards the misidentification. The identification as something that you can never be. Even the holiest conclusion does not match the holiness of your existence, your being. This is the very, very good news. Because in school we would get in trouble if we didn't know something mentally. Isn't it? We would get in trouble. if you didn't know the concept of something, if the teacher asked you, is the world flat or round? And you didn't have a conclusion about it, you're a bad student. Said, what is 456 minus 377? If you didn't have the conclusion, you're a bad student. You see, how many Murad would have had questions like, how many ribs do we have in the rib cage? And if you didn't have the answer, you would be a bad student. You see? So we have been conditioned to believe that if we don't have a concept for the answer, then this is bad news and therefore we have not got it. And that is why the search for the self can be so frustrating at times. Because you will not get the answer in that way as some holy concept. All holy concepts you have read, nothing is in secret today. The Upanishads, the Ashtavakra Gita, the Shiva Sutras, all these which were kept in secret in the olden days are now available fully. Nothing is left in secret for you now. All concepts are available. But through that, if you just rely on the concept which is there, that is not the self. At best, they are the pointers, they are the clues which point to the non-conceptual nature of your reality, to the non-phenomenal nature of your reality. Then you say, okay, concept is not getting me there, I get it. I don't want any concept. Then you say, but at least I must feel some difference. I must feel enlightened, or I must feel free, or something. But enlightenment is not a feeling. The Ananda of Satchidananda is not a feeling. It is the feelingless feeling. So don't expect freedom to be a feeling. Don't expect anything phenomenal at all. Don't interpret anything at all. No judgment is needed. Now tell me, where are you? Just from your insight. Don't tell me the answer. I don't need it. Just look for yourself. Where am I? If I say you, you, what are you accepting as your boundary? Huh? You. What are you accepting as your boundary? You see, the mind will try to tell you that this body boundary is your boundary. Isn't it? You. Where? This is it me? Who me? Who me? Where's the me? So automatically we have been conditioned to believe that this is where the me is located. Now, what if this was not true? For a moment, can we play like this? Yes, for a moment we play like this. What if this was not true? And you say, all that I perceive. And you say, Father, when you say you, I am all that I can perceive. Everything that is perceived. And I say, don't even accept that as your boundary. Not even that defines your boundary. Because what witnesses the perception is not a perception. You do not perceive that which witnesses the perception. Okay? Now you will come to realms where terms like boundary don't apply, space doesn't apply, time doesn't apply. And this is true about you right now. That you are all that you perceive, but you are not just that. Because all that you perceive is also coming and going, but you are not coming and going. Can you go and show me? Just go to yourself. You have to go to yourself. You see, you can sound crazy. What is he saying? Oh, what does he mean? The body should die? What does he mean? The senses should close? I should not feel anything? No, you go. Don't exist. You see? Even to not exist, you need to be aware that I don't exist. This is the stability of the self. You see, we've been chasing this, which cannot leave. It is so naturally here that everything else might come and go, but you cannot go. All that is phenomenal will come and go, but you cannot. I like to play this kind of game sometimes. No? I say that if we were to put everything that can come and go in a basket, one by one, relationships, money, body, all gone in the basket, because all are coming and going. What about thoughts in the basket? Emotions in the basket? All pleasure, pain in the basket? It's all changing, constantly changing. Now, when you put all of this in the basket, have you also gone in the basket? All your senses are gone. All your feelings gone. All of the physical space around you is gone. Time is also changing. Gone. Light, sound, everything gone. Where are you? Are you also gone? Are you in the basket? What is that to you? When we look beyond all that is perceived, what do we find? Now the me machine will come. The me machine will come and say, but what about me? All this fine. In Hindi you would say, ये सब तो ठीक है. But what about me? And I say, which me are you talking about? Is there such an entity? How long will we cater to this me that we cannot even find? In one retreat in Tiruvannamalai one day, we gave this me a name. We said, this is Mr. Rajan. You know? So Mr. Rajan says, I want freedom. Or Mr. Rajan says, I want this for dinner. I want this for tomorrow. I want 3 children. I want 2 puppies. I want 5 houses. You see? So before he comes and starts making these demands to you, would you not ask him, but who are you? Or will you just start catering? He says, give me whole bread, whole grain bread for dinner. saying, I want this, I don't want this. This is how I want my life to be. This is not what I want my life to be. So Bhagwan's question, who am I, was basically this question. So who are you? Who are you representing? And you come for freedom. And you come for freedom or for anything at all. Even to find God. Who are you representing? Tell me your shape, your size. What is your age? Were you born? And if I give something to one who is born, then that one will die anyway, so why should I? It will die, no, with all its possessions, whatever it has. So introduce yourself clearly. Who is it that you are? If you are able to show me your bondage, your real bondage, I promise you that I will give you freedom. But actually, in your looking, you will find that freedom only means that there never was bondage in the first place. Which is only that we got caught up in the idea of individuality, of personality. And now, as I'm speaking to you about your divinity, it can sound a bit strange. It can even sound arrogant. If I say to you that you are God, you will say, oh, I'm okay being the self, but you know, God sounds too, too much, too much. It's arrogant, it's blasphemy. And yet at the same time, everyone says God is everywhere without even noticing the apparent contradiction. How can there be a me if God is everywhere? This is the only misunderstanding, the only confusion is about who you are. There is no real confusion about relationships. Actually, there is no real confusion about security. There is no real confusion about anything. And ultimately, the confusion about identity also is not a real confusion. But it can seem like all these confusions stem from confusion about identity. Is it? So if you represent somebody that is limited, then know that that one will never find freedom. Is it? There is no such thing as a free person, an enlightened person. An enlightened person is like saying the fist is open and closed at the same time. Have you seen an open closed fist? Once you see that there is no person, then you see that there is only freedom. And nothing prevents you from seeing this right now. Whether it's your first satsang or 10,000th satsang, the truth about you is the same. It says only sometimes these conditions seem to take some time before they wear off, before we are done with them. The notion that I am something can seem very sticky. In fact, many report that without the notion I am something, just to remain in I am can seem too wobbly. To remain motionless initially can seem a bit unsteady. Some report that it seems like the ground has been taken away from under our feet. But you are not falling, you are flying. The ground is being taken away. Your limitation is being taken away. How many of you agree that without a concept you cannot suffer? At least that much must be seen by now. That to suffer you need at least a notion, one notion. Now as you start this moment, you already have a concept? Like now, 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 in this moment, now. It's not a stuck record. I purposely do that so that it doesn't give you time to think. You are empty of all notions naturally. Therefore, it is the end of your suffering. If you were to hear this like children, it would be very simple. But because we hear it like grown-ups, you see where our concepts are so deeply conditioned that quickly we say, but, you see, like that. I say now you are free. Boom. Not even the boom. Not maybe. But because we hear with this conditioned ears, this conditioned mindset, that either we feel like, no, he's not talking about me, or it can't be so true, can't be so easy, or this is just some hocus pocus, like that. But this is what you will come to recognize when you're done with this play of being a seeker. This is what you will come to recognize, that I have always been this. You are aware of your existence this very moment. And this awareness does not go. Even if existence comes and goes, even to say existence goes, you have to be aware of it. Even to say, I am not aware, what you are actually saying is that I am aware that I am not aware. It is the inescapable. So when sometimes somebody will come because they heard somebody saying that, oh, awareness is just a fallacy or something like that. Then you can just quickly check, am I aware of this? Or is this just another concept for me? And if it is just another concept, then like all concepts, it is worthless. And if I'm aware of this, then this awareness, does this come and go? This primal knowingness beyond all concepts, beyond all perception, beyond all states. The waking state itself comes and goes. You see, we are so accustomed to our magnificence that we don't realize that we are magnificent. This entire universe, which seems so full of color and light, it dances in front of us and it goes, and then it comes back, waiting to entertain us with some new drama, and then it goes. But I remain untouched, unmoved, unchanged. Shiva remains Shiva. Shiva dances for Shiva and remains Shiva. Now, some of you will continue to struggle to try and figure this out. And maybe it is part of the play that this seeming struggle has to happen in that way. But I want to tell you that it is not needed. You will not figure this out. You will not compute this. You will stretch the limits of your mind, of your thoughts. You will go beyond all the reaches of your intellect. And within all of this, you will not find the self. But the self is aware of all of this. It is the most natural you. It is the most original you. Primal beyond primordial. That's what I said. The basket example can seem very simple, but it shows you your original nature, that everything can come and go, but you are the unchanging one. You don't have to believe this. It is not about belief anymore. It is just about looking with the innocence of a child, with unconditioned eyes. The father says to the child, don't listen to strangers that you don't know. So I am telling you now, you don't know who this mind is representing. Don't listen to that one. Stay with this voice. Stay with your intuitive presence. Even if it doesn't seem to say anything, even if it feels like you're not making any progress, you will realize that the notion of progress was a myth. Ellen says that she's made this holy pilgrimage to Tiruvannamalai. And as often happens when you go to Tiruvannamalai, it seems like many times we can have this expectation that we will have a very blissful time. But what actually happens is that the mountain starts to burn everything which is false. Come in the presence of Arunachala and all the concepts that we have been carrying without even knowing. Nothing misses the mountain misses nothing. So all this starts to burn, saying that the me is burning. No ground is there under my feet. So this is the prasad of Arunachala. Enjoy this blessing from the Sadguru, from Shiva himself. It is often said in America, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. But here in Satsang, especially when you go to places like Tiruvannamalai, if you can't stand the heat, stay in the kitchen. All that is false will burn. Allow this burning to happen. This is what you want. Because this burning is not burning the reality of you. You cannot be burned. You cannot be cut.
So when you say you're free now,
Yeah.
of course, the first attention goes to all sensations and
All the sensations.
normal stuff, right?
Yes.
Including the me saying, "Oh, really?" I mean,
Yeah.
you know, you can
Whatever
see
it
that.
might be
Yeah,
saying.
whatever.
What's on that side of the attention?
I am.
So we got so used to making a report about ourselves on the basis of this side of attention. What is the content which is being brought?
Exactly.
Yeah? So that's why I draw this line of being.
Yes.
Actually, it's not to be taken seriously. Okay?
Yeah.
There is no line of being.
Yeah.
But suppose this is the being. Then on this side is all the perceptual world. All phenomena, thoughts, pain, pleasure, all of this is there.
Exactly.
And you rightly said attention is going to all of this. Now, what is attention reporting back to?
So
attention is like your spy.
So
it is
actually,
bringing you all this.
What
Who
I'm
are
seeing,
you?
Father,
Please.
is it all arises from emptiness in a sense. It seems. I don't know if that's correct or not. But and like I can't. There's no attribute. There's nothing I can say. And even I am seems to have. It doesn't have any attribute. It seems.
Yes.
But, you know, it's just. And all of this appearance is there, everything is there. It's not me, yet I am. And I am has no shape. Or it seems like there is nothing to grasp.
Yes, exactly.
You know, there's no, I think there is a struggle in the mind to grasp it.
Yeah.
And that is also seen. But the
mind struggles to define it.
Yes.
Cannot define.
Yeah.
See, that's a grasp because you're not trying to grasp something that you can't leave. I ask you, can you stop being?
So yeah.
So you can't stop being.
No. And yet, being is not a tangible thing.
Yes.
It's emptiness, Father. Is it?
Yes. It is
It has
prior to time and space. So you cannot give it spatial constructs or time-based constructs.
And there's no sensation to it.
Yes. Except that there's a qualitative tasting of I am, like I exist now, versus I wasn't when there was sleep.
Yes. So almost seems like that's the only difference between awareness and I am. I am is just the
extension of awareness,
Right.
extension,
Yes.
which has the qualitative sense of existence. But it is not separate from the self.
So no, okay. As I look, Father, there are a lot of subtle sensations. You know, very. Some of them are just very subtle, and I know that they're not, even bliss is not me.
Yeah.
Even happiness is not me. Somehow I just feel I can't go further back. You know,
Yeah.
I just. And I can see the mind just.
Yeah.
The mind is slowing. Like I can see the grasping reducing over the last few days. It's just it's trying to grasp, but it can't grasp, but it's still grasping. And it's clear that I'm not a. There's nothing I can use to describe anything.
Yeah.
You know, it's not describable. It's nothing. But I definitely am seeing the what's been happening last few days, Father, is just seeing the mind body kind of fight.
Yeah.
You know, trying to do something. And I don't know what's going on.
It's best to not know because we don't even really know that.
Yeah.
It might feel like I have a memory of what's been happening the last few days. But what memory is really reliable? So we don't know anything about past really, and we definitely don't know anything about the future. So all you have is that you exist now. And ultimately, even this existence is not your container. So if you don't go to anything past or future, and we don't go with any interpretation of any sensation, of anything on this side of I am, any perception,
It feels like empty.
yes, and but is it
And I'm
a
aware.
perceptual empty in the sense of is it like an empty room empty?
No. Doesn't feel like empty room, empty. No, Father. There's no space associated with it.
Yes. Whatever it feels like, what witnesses that?
And the witnessing is just happening.
Yes. Yes. Is it
I am
empty
seeing-
or full?
It doesn't have that quality.
Even that is not there, is
I
it?
can't see.
So, although if I was to force you and say you have to pick one, and you say, okay, empty seems better
It
because
seems full also.
yes, actually, it's
Yeah.
true. So that's why we come to not applicable.
Yeah.
You see, but if we start satsang by saying not applicable to everything, then it won't make much sense. You see? So we have to use terms like empty. We have to use terms like positionless, referenceless, unchanging, primal
Yeah.
witness. And yet, you will see that nothing really applies to this. You are that no thing
Yes.
to which nothing applies.
And yeah.
Okay? And yet,
Nothing applies. I can't turn it off. I can't just. I think where and I'm really just watching it, Father, is the mind really struggles to understand this. It's and I can see the mind. It's not like the mind is here. The mind is almost
so
further away.
So I'm saying to you that you don't have to cater to the mind at all.
Yes, Father.
Whether it is struggling or relaxed. is none of your concern
Yes,
anymore.
Yes.
Let it do its thing, whatever it has to do. Yeah? Then we don't have to, then the Chekka cannot be born.
Yeah, it does get born.
Yeah.
It does, and it gets subtler and subtler further.
Otherwise, we create this manifestation of the mind, who's then constantly tracking our report card. It's like then that becomes a nurse of the. I don't know why all the Murad is there. That's all the medical examples are coming. So the nurse comes and checks on the chart every couple of hours, right? And say mind quality 7 on 10, 9 on 5 on 10.
But what's nice, Father, is that even this checker guy is starting to be seen. Like you can,
Yes.
like in a sense, the checker guy is not affecting me.
Yeah.
It's not affecting.
Yeah.
There's something that
Yeah.
it can't touch.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
It can only report on something.
Yes.
Okay. But
And this is also the checker guy. This is tricky. And it happens very naturally for all of us when I say, I see the checker guy. Yeah, I see this one is also. It is like any layer of conclusion, any layer of interpretation actually is the mind trying to subtly get a, like one, give me one tick mark, give me one approval, you see, give me one yes. And it seems like you come to Satsang, I'm like, no, not that. Yeah, even that is, no, not that. But this one, so you know what I mean. No, please, come on. But actually, no, not that. This is like, then you see that the mind's all these layers, even including the self. And could arise from very natural insight that you're having, but it likes to take on something. It could be very subtle. But I've seen many, many times over the years that it starts off as a very subtle thing and then boom. Like that once somebody came to me, she said in Satsang, and I just started sharing them. She said, Father, I feel so good right now that the mind cannot touch me. And I'm happy to go playing with the mind for a bit. Yeah? And I said, okay, it is your pet, it is your plaything, but don't go too far with it and continue to come to Satsang. And that was the last time I saw her. I've never seen her after that. So, and I'm reminding you of that, but it can feel like you can make a conclusion like, now the mind cannot touch me, so I want to play with it for a bit. It is here for my joy after all. But it's so tricky, and you have designed it, consciousness has designed it that way, that you might feel like, I'm just going to dip my fingers in or my toes, and suddenly you zoom.
Quicksand.
Quicksand. It can feel like that is the design of this. That is why now, if I see a bit of concluding,
no, good. Thank you.
is it because even our best conclusions actually are sometimes a defense mechanism from the wobbliness of just not knowing anything at all. Entry of all motion. But I'm telling you, you start enjoying this. When you enjoy this, you will never want to know anything. Like, don't give me the spoiler for a movie. It doesn't happen that you're looking forward to a movie and somebody comes and says, you know that episode of this show that you love? This is what happened at the end. Like that. So then all this which can feel like conclusions or where things are going or what is happening, it can feel like all this. No, I don't need this. The wonder of this play is so beautiful, empty of concept, that you will not want a concept to define. Right? Then concepts will arise from you just in this way, as it might seem like there are many others who are concept ridden. So some concepts might arise from your mouth to rid them of their concepts. But you will never take your own notions very seriously. So nature of the mind, not your concern now. How it is transitioning or not, nothing to do with you. What is happening in the body, also consciousness. Everything, consciousness. And your inquiry has brought you here. And this is surrender. Or your surrender has brought you here. And this is your true inquiry. Here you are seeing that there is no difference, actually. Because the irrelevant has finally become irrelevant. Whether you call it inquiry or you call it surrender. Now you've already seen that without a notion you cannot suffer. Okay? Now the mind will use all tactics to convince you that you need a notion for something. Isn't it? They, yes, yes. Okay, this is fine for satsang. But when I go to work, I have to use notion. Okay? How will I run my life? Okay? These kind of ideas. What if I just don't get up from bed at all without the notion I have to go to work? What if I do start doing some very irresponsible things? Isn't it? The mind will start giving you all these fears and doubts and things like that. And you will see through them. Because you will see that all the doing that has happened has not been the doing of an individual entity. There is nobody, like I've been telling all of you, there is nobody right now speaking these words. These words are just appearing. In fact, your perception of them is the speaking of them. Is it? It is the perception of them which is the speaking of them. There is nobody either perceiving it or speaking it. So hearing is happening here, perceiving is happening here, seeing, speaking is happening here, hand movement seems to be happening here. All this is happening. So it is, the mind will tell you the story of your doership, and it will say that as you are empty of motion, how will the doing happen? But you have never existed. So if you have never existed, that you, who is the individual doer, has never existed. So if that one has never existed, how has it done something? Can the non-existent one do something? It is not possible. It is a fallacy that has been believed. Actually, all of this is just happening in the light of consciousness in its own way. There is no doer here or non-doer here. Both can become a position. I am not the doer. I've seen many an Advaita pick up this position and it's so sticky. I had the most trouble with trying to shake them out of the non-doership position. No, I'm not the doer. Oh, you're asking me to look, to check, but I'm not the doer. You see, the non-doer itself becomes position. Because we get used to calling ourselves the limited one again. And this is consciousness speaking to consciousness, consciousness reminding consciousness of its own reality. That is the play of consciousness. But when we pick up a limited identity about ourselves, even the non-doership will become a position. Many leave satsang because of that. Many have stopped doing inquiry because I see I'm not the doer, so who am I to do the inquiry? Like that. So that's also a position. You see, what is the I representing there? It is not the truth. It is still the limited notion. So in the play, consciousness is playing with all these, you see, variations. All these variations. Consciousness playing with all these ideas, notions, and seeming to play with all of these outcomes. So neither doer nor non-doer. Neither desirer nor renouncer. Neither founder, neither finder nor lost.
Loser.
Neither founder nor loser. Anil says, why we keep saying mind, mind? Where is the mind? There. It is mind only complaining about the mind. And, you know, mind is also consciousness. Everything is consciousness. Many times I've heard this before. Father, why are you so hard on the mind? Mind is also God. Yes, yes, yes. Axe murderer is also God. Serial killer also God. Pickpocket also God. All are aspects of consciousness. If your heart is longing for the truth, will you listen to a liar all day? These concepts do not help us. These notions are just notions. Don't be too quick. Guruji says, don't be too quick to call the mind your friend. Not yet. It's very funny. And first time someone told me in Satsang, but mind is also consciousness. Oh, really? No idea. Thank you. If you taste that everything is consciousness, then you will not even mind those who are minding the mind. Thank you all so much for being in Satsang today. Sadhguru Shri Muji Baba ki
Jai. Sadhguru Shri Ananta Ji ki Jai.